construction crew blasts open a mountain in Norway expecting rock and dirt, but instead a 150-foot creature walks out that hasn't moved in 1,000 years. The government tries bullets and bombs, but nothing works because this isn't just some random monster. It's an ancient king returning home to find his murdered family, and the royal palace is built on top of their graves. The story begins in the mountains of Norway, where we see a father named Tobias taking his young daughter Nora on a hiking trip to the troll peaks. Tobias tells Nora an ancient legend that 13 trolls once gathered here for a wedding. They drank so much they lost track of time, and when sunrise came it turned them all into stone mountains. Little Nora says she's too old for fairy tales, which breaks her father's heart, but Tobias reminds her you have to believe in something before you can see it. 20 years later, Nora has become a serious paleontologist working on an archaeological dig site on the Atlantic coast. Her team has been digging for 6 months without finding anything, and everyone wants to quit, but Nora refuses to give up, and her determination finally pays off when she discovers an ancient dinosaur skull. The team celebrates with drinks, completely unaware that something far more terrifying than any fossil is about to wake up. In the Dovre Mountains, a massive construction crew is blasting through rock to build a new railway tunnel. Environmental activists are protesting outside, but the construction chief ignores them and detonates the explosives. The mountain explodes, but then a deep growling sound echoes from inside and the ground shakes violently. Workers rush into the tunnel when suddenly they hear a terrifying roar that doesn't sound like any animal on Earth. Enormous rocks start falling and the panicked workers try to run, but the collapsing tunnel buries them alive. The seismic activity is immediately detected by Norwegian Armed Forces headquarters, where computer expert Sigrid monitors surveillance cameras. She assembles footage from reconnaissance aircraft and brings it to commanding officers, who decide this incident is serious enough to alert the Prime Minister directly. Prime Minister Barrett drives to the military base while advisor Andreas briefs her that over 50 people died in the mountain collapse and shows aerial photographs of the destruction. Barrett notices massive crater-like holes in the landscape, and Andreas quietly suggests they look like footprints, but nobody takes him seriously. At the same time, Nora is celebrating her fossil discovery when a military helicopter suddenly lands nearby. A soldier steps out and tells Nora she's been urgently summoned by the Prime Minister for a matter of national security, so she immediately boards the helicopter and flies to headquarters. Andreas escorts her to a classified meeting room filled with government officials arguing about what caused the disaster. Scientists theorize underground gas pockets or geological sinkholes, but Nora studies the photographs and interrupts, pointing out those craters are clearly footprints from something enormous. Officials laugh, dismissing the idea as ridiculous because footprints would mean monsters, but then Sigrid bursts in, announcing she has video footage from the disaster site. Everyone watches as Sigrid plays shocking video on the screen. Through dust and falling rocks, they see a massive humanoid figure approximately 150 feet tall emerging from inside the mountain. The room falls silent because they can no longer deny something colossal has awakened in Norway. In a small village called Lesja, an elderly couple has afternoon tea when their dog starts barking frantically at nothing. Seconds later, the house begins shaking like an earthquake. Cups crash to the floor, and the terrified couple runs to their basement bunker. When the shaking stops, they emerge to find their entire house completely destroyed and flattened. Only the basement saved their lives. At headquarters, the Prime Minister appoints Nora as lead scientific advisor, and Andreas takes her to investigate the Lesja site. During the helicopter flight, Andreas asks how she became a paleontologist, and Nora explains she loved nature since childhood. Her mother died when she was 10, and her father Tobias was a professor who studied mythology and folklore. However, Tobias became obsessed with proving mythical creatures were real and lost his grip on reality. His condition deteriorated so badly that Nora admitted him to a mental hospital years ago. They arrive at the destroyed house and meet Captain Christopher, commanding the military operation on the ground. Christopher explains they tracked the creature's footprints 2 miles south into mountains, but then the trail mysteriously vanishes as if it disappeared into thin air. Nora interviews the elderly couple, who describe hearing a terrifying howling sound that was mournful and sad, almost like the creature was crying in pain. Nora inspects the massive footprints using scientific equipment, but discovers something shocking. There are no biological traces whatsoever in the prints. No DNA, no organic material, nothing except dirt and crushed stone. It's as if whatever made these footprints isn't actually a living creature but something else entirely. But what Nora doesn't realize yet is that the truth hiding beneath Norway's mountains is far more terrifying than any scientific explanation could prepare her for, because this creature remembers everything humans did to its family. Nora decides she needs expert help and asks Christopher to take her to see her estranged father Tobias, who lives alone in a remote mountain cabin. When they arrive, Tobias comes out holding a rifle, threatening strangers on his property, but when he recognizes his daughter, he lowers his weapon and invites them inside. Tobias's cabin is filled with research papers, maps, and obsessive notes, all about proving trolls are real. Nora shows him video footage from the mountain disaster, asking if his folklore research contains any clues to identify the creature. Tobias watches with wide eyes, muttering they are here, they have returned, but Nora cuts him off, demanding scientific explanations, not fairy tale nonsense. However, Tobias firmly insists what they saw is a troll, an ancient creature driven to extinction during Christianization of Norway 1,000 years ago. He explains when he was close to revealing the truth, the government locked him him in a mental institution to silence him and keep the secret hidden. Nora is frustrated, but Tobias grabs his research bag, announcing they're going on an adventure, and despite her doubts, Nora brings him along. The team flies by helicopter to where the creature's footprints mysteriously stopped. When they land, Tobias immediately notices the landscape doesn't match his maps and the topography has been completely altered. Nora smells that same strange odor, an overwhelming scent of nature that seems almost supernatural. She's scanning the area with equipment when suddenly the sky goes dark. Nora turns and sees the mountain behind them opening its eyes. The creature isn't hiding in the mountains. The creature is the mountain itself, camouflaging its enormous body to blend with rocky landscape. The troll rises to full terrifying height of 150 feet, its body covered in moss and stone, and it lets out an earth-shaking roar that nearly deafens them. The team sprints desperately to the helicopter as the troll takes massive steps toward them. They barely escape with their lives and transmit live footage to headquarters. Now the entire Norwegian government is forced to accept the impossible truth that trolls are real and one of them is awake. The military launches a massive operation led by Captain Christopher. Hundreds of heavily armed soldiers gather with the most advanced weapons Norway has to offer, preparing to engage the troll in combat. While soldiers prepare, Tobias and Nora share a quiet moment, bonding like father and daughter again, reminiscing about adventures they had in these mountains when Nora was little. Then the troll appears on the horizon and the military opens fire with everything they have. Machine guns, rockets, grenades, explosions light up the night sky, but shockingly none of it affects the creature. The troll's body regenerates from damage almost instantly, and it starts attacking back, crushing vehicles and grabbing soldiers to eat them alive. Tobias suddenly stands up and walks toward the rampaging troll with arms spread wide in a peaceful gesture, trying to communicate and calm it down. For a brief moment it actually works. The troll stops attacking and listens to Tobias's gentle words, but then another military vehicle opens fire from behind. The creature spins violently to counterattack and accidentally hits Tobias with its massive tail, sending him flying through the air and crashing to the ground. Nora rushes to her dying father as he whispers, "Palace, king, home, believe," but before he can explain what he means, his eyes close forever. That night, devastated, Nora goes through her father's research journals, trying to find information to stop the troll, or at least understand what it wants. After hours of reading, she discovers ancient folklore describes trolls throwing boulders at churches because they hated the sound of ringing bells. This gives her an idea. She contacts the prime minister, explaining if bells hurt trolls, they should use church bells as weapons. Officials think this sounds insane, but since conventional weapons failed, they give permission. For military helicopters take off carrying enormous church bells suspended beneath them and fly toward the troll. When close enough, the bells start ringing loudly. The plan works at first, and the troll becomes visibly weakened, covering its ears and staggering backward, but then the creature adapts and gets used to the noise. The troll fights back, destroying helicopters one by one, causing them to crash in massive explosions. Nora's plan fails spectacularly. However, during chaos, something interesting happens. When one helicopter is about to crash on a small child who couldn't evacuate, the troll deliberately catches it and moves it away, saving the child's life. This proves the creature isn't just a mindless killing machine, it has emotions and intelligence and perhaps compassion. The troll incident is broadcast worldwide, every news channel covering the story and millions watching as this mythical creature destroys Norway. The prime minister gives an emergency speech declaring a state of emergency and ordering evacuation of Oslo and surrounding areas because the troll appears heading toward the capital city. Because of her failed strategy, Nora is removed from her position and kicked out of headquarters. Andreas quits in protest and they leave together. Thousands of citizens flee the city in massive traffic, and Nora is stuck in a car still studying her father's journals. She keeps seeing the word Sinding written repeatedly throughout pages. Andreas recognizes that name, explaining Sinding is the Lord Chamberlain who lives in the royal palace, one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in Norway. Nora suddenly remembers her father's last words about palace and king. She realizes they need to get to the royal palace immediately, so Andreas turns the car around. When they arrive, palace guards try to stop them, but Lord Sinding appears and lets them in, saying he's been expecting someone from Tobias's family to eventually show up. Sinding takes them deep underground beneath the palace into hidden tunnels, revealing the horrifying truth kept secret for 1,000 years. The tunnel walls are lined with enormous skeletal remains of trolls, and Sinding explains during Christianization of Norway, the church killed the entire troll royal family and built this palace directly on top of their home as an act of dominance. The Christians massacred the troll queen and all the children, but kept one baby alive and used it as bait to lure the troll king into a cave in Dovre Mountains, where they trapped him and left him for dead. Tobias discovered this secret 12 years ago, and Sinding had him committed to a mental hospital to protect the truth. Now Sinding admits he was wrong. Nora realizes with horror the construction explosives woke the troll king imprisoned for 1,000 years, and now he's trying to return home to his family, not knowing they're all dead. While examining the troll bones, Nora shines her ultraviolet light on them and they start to sizzle. She finally understands why legends said sunlight kills trolls. It's UV radiation that's deadly to them. Nora immediately calls Captain Christopher, explaining her plan to lure the troll king to a specific location and trap him with UV lights, creating artificial sunlight powerful enough to kill the creature. Christopher agrees and gathers soldiers to prepare the trap, while Andreas contacts Sigrid at headquarters to delay the government's missile launch plan. Sigrid uses expert hacking skills to break into military computer systems, successfully stopping the missiles. Sinding provides the royal palace's largest truck, and they load one of the troll children's skulls onto the back. Nora and Andreas will drive through the city using the skull to lure the enraged father into their UV trap. The troll king arrives in Oslo and military attacks him with useless weapons. Nora and Andreas drive right past with the skull clearly visible. When the troll king sees his child's skull, he stops attacking and roars in anguish before chasing the truck. Nora drives as fast as she can through destroyed streets while the massive creature pursues them, demolishing everything in his path. During the chase, the skull accidentally falls off and shatters on the ground. The Troll King picks up broken pieces and lets out a heartbreaking cry of pure grief, realizing his children are gone forever. He sees his own reflection in a glass building, and when he touches the window it breaks, startling him. The sudden noise makes him accidentally drop the skull fragments, which shatter into dust. Consumed by rage and pain, the Troll King chases Nora and Andreas, seeking revenge. They barely stay ahead as he destroys buildings and cars trying to catch them. They reach the location where Christopher and soldiers wait with the trap ready. Nora and Andreas jump out as the Troll King steps right into the center. Christopher gives the signal, and suddenly the creature is surrounded by massive UV lights burning into his ancient stone-like skin. The Troll King roars in agony as artificial sunlight slowly kills him. At headquarters, officials watch celebrating victory, but Nora can't celebrate because she feels the creature's pain and sadness. She runs to the power source and shuts off the UV lights, trying to save the dying troll. Soldiers point their guns at her, but she stops them and approaches the wounded creature the same way her father did. Nora gently tells the Troll King to go back to the mountains where he'll be safe. The creature stares at her with ancient eyes, and for a moment it seems like he might listen. But then the sun rises over the horizon. Natural sunlight hits the Troll King and he begins turning to stone. Nora reaches out and touches him one final time before he completely petrifies and becomes a permanent stone monument. As everyone celebrates their victory, Andreas jokes about what to name this new landmark, and Nora decides it should be called the Tobias Boulder in honor of her father, who was right about trolls all along. The Prime Minister arrives and thanks Nora for saving the country. Andreas announces he's quitting government work to become a writer and asks if there might be more trolls hidden in Norway's mountains. The camera cuts to Dovre Mountains, where deep underground beneath layers of rock something begins to move. Another ancient troll is slowly waking up. With this, the story ends. If you liked this video, then subscribe to our channel and like the video.